Hey everybody, this is Scott with GuitarAndBass.com. Appreciate you checking out this video. Listen, today I wanted to talk about a hardware device that I think if you're unaware of, you will be amazed at what it will do for your bass guitar, its sound, and it's one of these things that a little bit of science involved, but really cool. So what it's called is a high pass filter. It sounds kind of complicated, but let's just break it down. High pass, and this has to do with frequencies, right? Because that's what signals are, right? They're all different frequencies. So what a high pass filter does, it allows high frequencies to pass through, and it will keep low frequencies from passing through. All right. So high goes through, high passes, and then the converse of that is, the opposite, lows don't. So think of it this way. It kind of sounds like an equalizer, and it has to do with frequencies, but it's different than an equalizer because whatever is the part that's not allowed to go through, whatever the setting is, it just slopes off. So like an EQ might, a EQ is more specific to the frequency, but a high pass filter, wherever it's set to, whatever frequency it's set to stop the frequencies going through, it just boom to silence. Okay, so let's talk about how this will help the bass. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some science and some physics. So first of all, frequencies. With a 4-string bass, the low E string is about 40 hertz. All right, so that's the approximate frequency, 40 hertz, give or take a few partial hertz, right? So that's our lowest note. And guess what? Most amp cabinets, bass amp cabinets, are designed to work. That's their lowest threshold, between 40 and 50 hertz. So that makes sense, right? That's the lowest frequency that really needs to be tuned, so we can hear it. That's what cabinets are designed for. Meaning that that's how they optimally run. They will make the fundamental tone right on pitch, and then the overtones that come after it will be right on pitch. So, it makes sense, right? It's the lowest note. So, but what happens is there are frequencies that result that are lower than that. All right, that get sent to the speaker system. Anything lower than what the speaker can handle, well, it'll handle it, but it's not tuned for that. So what happens is it reproduces these lower thuddy tones and just sends them out with the rest of the tuned frequencies. So you get all that mixed together, and the end result is the sound is not as focused, right? Because you mix all the frequencies in that aren't good, and they're kind of bouncing around with the good frequencies. Well, that takes something away from the good frequencies. So what a low pass filter can do, let's say you set it at 35 hertz. So anything starting at 35 hertz, anything below is just sloped off to silence. So you cancel out any of those extra low frequencies that will do nothing for your sound, but will be, the speaker will receive them. And so that's kind of the beauty of it. So let's talk about some different aspects of what that will do for your sound. So first of all, like we said, it'll focus your tone more. You won't have all of, say, the junk frequencies being sent through your speaker. And think about, every fundamental frequency has overtones to it. It's just the nature of the physics of sound. The overtones, they every time you double the frequency, that's an octave, right? Well, those lower tones that are unfocused, they don't really have a pitch to them. They're kind of just, unpitched. Well, they're doubled as well into the audible range. So what you're hearing is a lot of unpitched, unfocused, messy frequencies blended with your focus tone. Right? Just think about it. It makes sense, right? It's gonna make your end result less focused. You get rid of those. Your fundamental tone, like your fundamental will be 40 hertz. Your octave will be 80 hertz, but it's all clean, right? It's not mixed with junk. So, number one, how it can help the sound of the bass is to focus the tone. Another thing is, because the speaker is designed to optimally work at a certain point, 40, 50 hertz, anything below that will move the speaker, but it's going to move the speaker in really like a free way. It's going to move it in ways it's not designed to be moved. It's called free air. It's just going to be bouncing around. Well, that's not good for your speaker. That can over time damage your speaker, or it could just blow it out, right? If the right circumstances happen. So you're also protecting your equipment by doing that. Here's another huge thing. Because the speaker isn't reproducing these, let's say, junk frequencies, these low frequencies, the energy that it would be using to produce those frequencies is now, there's more energy, there's more power to drive the good frequencies. So you'll notice anywhere between a 25%, 50% increase in volume. I mean, it's like getting that's huge for a little device, that may cost $100, $200, whatever. You're going to increase the headroom of your amp just by getting rid of the junk tones. Another thing too, when you think about it, if you're running effects, well, you can send all of the frequencies, even the junk frequencies, the ones that are really undefined, and then their overtones are undefined. You can send all that stuff through your effects, which then will process the sound, and get all of that processed. Or would you rather send the focused tone, the fundamental with the focused overtones through your effects, and get that type of sound? Now that's kind of a subjective thing, because you may like it. You may like the sound of all that going through your effects, but it is also nice to have the opportunity to A/B and see what your effects sound like with just pure, clean, fundamental tones with their tuned overtones. So that's another thing to think about too, is how you're sending a real pure signal to your effects that can be processed. Ear fatigue. So if you think about it, when the ear hears like distorted tones for an extended period of time, meaning unfocused, non-pitched tones for an extended period of time, your ear just wears out. And I know we've all probably been in that situation, at the end of a gig. And there's other reasons for our ears to fatigue too, just pure volume. But a lot of it has to do with tones that are just not focused. It fatigues our ear. So with using this, you're going to be able to, your ears are going to last longer at a gig, so to speak. You're hearing pure tones, not a whole lot of garbage tones. So that's another bonus for using this. It also is very helpful if you're in a room that is not conducive to bass. Maybe it's just acoustically tight, whatever. Low ceiling, whatever, bad rooms. This can get you through that. It can just cut out some of those frequencies that are just going to build up, create, like a woofy sound, and you can't hear anything very well. So for live gigging, it can be a real important tool to take care of rooms that just aren't really made acoustically for what you're doing. And then lastly, and I'll leave you with this, like bass tones, the length of the frequency is so long, right? So if you're next to your bass amp, you're not hearing the actual volume. The true volume is going to be somewhere out there, because the wavelengths are so long, right? So you're practicing, boom, boom, boom. Well, let's say you're practicing at home or an apartment complex. You're playing at what you think is a reasonable level. but just multiply that, because that's what other people are hearing in your house or in your apartment complex. That can kind of annoy people. This device, you can just cut those low frequencies, practice, and not be concerned about disturbing other people. Now, there's a couple products on the market. I would just encourage you to do some research, and you can dig around and find. I found 4 or 5 on the market. I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to get into that, but just do some research. You'll find them. High pass filters. There's some independent dudes making them. There's some companies that make them, and it seems to be a real kind of hidden secret, like on the inner circle of bass playing. It's one of those things that you don't know what you're missing until you have it. Alright, so check out the high pass filter, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time on guitarandbass.com. Thanks.